Nearly 14 years ago, there was these two magical things that happened within 1 month of each other. So the first thing is I met this wonderful young lady named Lindsay. And Lindsay is now my wife, my soulmate, my best friend. And we fell heavy and hard for each other. I mean, we went all in on our relationship really quickly. And she was just starting graduate school, so that was a point of transition in her life. And I was literally like weeks away from launching a company, which is now called SYNDUIT. And if there's ever a time that you shouldn't start a new relationship, it's really on the heels of starting a new company. I was pretty much getting it in motion when I met her in the first place, and it was official within weeks after meeting her. And the reason why those are two things you really shouldn't do at the same time, although they are part of why we have such a strong relationship today, is because they both require an enormous amount of focus and attention. I mean, in a new relationship, you're still figuring each other out, and you want to make sure that that other person just feels your love and the support that you have in that relationship, that you're all in. But at the same time, in an early stage venture, you need to be like fanatical about it and all in on it, like nonstop, trying to figure out how to make it work. So I have these two things that require all of me, and I'm just one person. And how do I create a 200% version of myself? Well, here's what happened. I royally failed. Because SYNDUIT just exploded. I mean, out of a shotgun, this thing just took off. And I was literally working 18 to 20 hours every single day. Lindsay's in graduate school, also working very hard, but has more time than I do. And we're in this new relationship. And this just wasn't the dream she had for this new relationship with a man that she thought she was going to spend her life with. And this went on for months upon months. And I was blind to the fact, completely blind to the fact, that she didn't feel loved or supported or even important in my life. And I'll never forget the moment. I get into bed after one of those long 18 to 20 hour days where I just slayed it. I mean, slayed it at SYNDUIT. I get into bed, and Lindsay was already sleeping at that point for hours because she had school early in the morning, and she rolls over and she says, "Jared, I just don't feel important in your life. I feel completely insignificant." And I remember in that moment thinking to myself, well, there's a few ways I could respond. Like, one way is I could get really mad. Like, do you even understand what I'm trying to do for our life and our future life with our children? That was one way, and in theory, perfectly normal. The other way was I could start crying. I'm just being like, I can't imagine that you feel this way. That's the last way I want you to feel. You know what I responded with? I actually smiled. Now, she couldn't see it because it was completely dark room, but I smiled. The reason I smiled is I knew that was a point of demarcation in my life, in her life, and in the life of SYNDUIT. And that if the person that I cared about most was going to feel insignificant, something had to change at SYNDUIT. Something had to change at SYNDUIT to free me up so I could be more present with her and at the same time give SYNDUIT what it needed to become what it was meant to in the world. And that next morning I walked in, and that was my only focus, was how do I become obsolete? Because at that point, I had the weight of SYNDUIT on my shoulders. Every single aspect of that company flowed through me. And I worked over the next 90 days to find ways to become significantly less important. And the lesson that I learned there has served me so deeply, not just as an entrepreneur, but as a human. Because now I'm able to show up for my family and have even more responsibility than I had back then from that one statement. And I'm just encouraging everybody out there, as you go and you build your dream, whatever that might be, you build that venture, you're going after your version of a unicorn, you're going to launch a business that changes humanity. Don't lose sight of the things that matter most. And the things that matter most is your health and your family and your children. Those are the things that even when you make it, you will look back and regret if you weren't present to them. We talk about this all the time inside of our project, which is as much as I care about building, scaling, and exiting every single business that we touch, as much as we care about the economic impact that we're going to create. If you make it, and your spouse can't stand you, your kids don't know you, and if you have an autoimmune disease because you just grinded it too hard, we just failed you. So as much as we talk business, we enforce life. And if you're outside of our project, I encourage you to enforce life. Have non-negotiables around your schedule. Within your schedule, make sure that your children have present time with you, where your phone is nowhere to be found. It's undivided attention, you and them immersed in whatever activity they want, and you're present to it, you have the energy, you're showing up to it. Make sure that your significant other is feeling the love, whether it's date nights or cards or whatever it might be, to get on the same page. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be ambitious and pursue your dream. Just make sure you're on the same page and that person is coming with you. And I'm not perfect at this, but we recalibrate all of the time to ensure that we're aligned with where we're going and that we're both on the same page to get there together with our kiddos and everybody else we care about as well. I can't emphasize enough, this next era of entrepreneurship is one where people truly have it all. Yes, they achieve incredible economic success. They make all their ambitions a reality, but at the same time, they don't get divorced, have an autoimmune disease, and kids that don't even know they exist. That's what the last era was about. There are so many stories of people that made it to the top and they're completely by themselves. They're in their third marriage, their first marriage, the kids can't stand them. That's just not this era. This is an era of having it all. And in honor of Valentine's Day, which is closely approaching, make sure that you put your love for the people you care about most first. Let them know that yes, we're going to achieve all of our goals, all of our hopes, all of our aspirations, but we're going to do it together, because together we truly achieve more.